Hey guys, this is Firoz here from Last Minute Productions, and we're here again with another review for Nikon Middle East and Africa. I have in my hand possibly the first 70-200 Z mount lens in the Middle East, courtesy of the team here, and I'll have to say one thing: the sharpness that this lens produces is on a whole different level. More on that along with other details and features of this lens coming up in our review now. This is arguably one of the best, if not the best, 70-200 2.8 lens in the market today. Nikon seems to have put in a lot of its quality research and a lot of really good optics in this lens, because the sharpness it's producing is something you really have to see to believe. Used for a variety of genres, including but not limited to sports, wedding and portrait photography, the 70-200 lens, especially the 2.8 version, is almost always a certainty in every professional photographer's bag. It's about the same size as the F-mount FL version of the same lens, and the weight is almost exactly the same. The best part, however, is that the ergonomics of this lens pair perfectly with the Z5, Z6 and Z7 bodies, and it doesn't weigh it down. Just like its predecessors in the F-mount series, this lens too does not extend while zooming in or out. The big question is, though, how do the images taken with this lens compare with its F-mount equivalent?
As photographers, every time we pick up our gear and click a frame, there is an image in our minds that is embedded the instant before we press that play button and review the image on our LCDs. More often than not, the experts among us are satisfied with the results, but it is not often that we are blown away by what we see. For the past year or so, since I began using the Z series of cameras, the technical results that I've been seeing with this system has been nothing short of phenomenal, and the 70-200 now adds to this. Most of the images I shot with the lens at f2.8 had me looking closely, inspecting the images over and over again, as they had the depth of field and subject to background separation quality that you would not normally see at f2.8 and more closely with something like an f2 lens.
A great deal of this has to do with the physics of the Z mount. Coming in at a large 55mm diameter, currently the largest among full-frame mirrorless cameras, as well as the super short flange focal distance, this allows for the Z mount lenses to let in more light hitting the sensor, thus aiding in better low-light performance, reducing distortion and edge-to-edge sharpness with minimal or no fall-off at the corners.
The zoom ring has a very short throw to it. That's to say that you don't have to turn it much to go from 70 to 200 millimeters.
Fully weather sealed and with a very professional feel to it. One thing that you'll be happy to note is that the filter thread is still 77mm. So if you're planning on swapping out your F-mount lens for this one, you can still keep all your filters. In addition to the zoom and focus rings on the lens, there is now a third control ring that can be customized using the menu on your camera. You can use this ring to change aperture, exposure compensation or ISO values quickly. Something we've started seeing on the premium Z mount lenses is an LCD display, and that's available here on this lens as well. It can show you the precise focal length, aperture and other details. Now, personally, I would have loved to see the LCD also displaying an exact distance scale when you turn the focus ring, not just a digital version of the numbers that we're used to seeing on the conventional analog scales in your earlier F-mount lenses. I'm hoping this is something that Nikon can provide us with a firmware update in the future, as it can be something really handy to look at. So, how does the lens feel when it comes to shooting? This is where you really get the feel of the fabulous optics and the build quality that goes into making this lens. I tested out this lens for sports, for city shots, as well as for portraits, and I really enjoyed using this lens across all those shooting scenarios. Straight out of the camera, the first thing that you're going to notice is the exceptional sharpness that this lens provides, even when shooting wide open at f2.8. it's got a really pleasing shallow depth of field, throwing out the background out of focus in a very pleasing manner. Let's take a look at these comparative images where I photographed the same subjects, one with the Z6 and the new 7200 and the other with the DSLR Nikon body and the FL 7200F mount lens. As amazing as the FL version of the lens is, Nikon seems to have really improved on a lot of things here, and this is clear to see. The Z version is a lot sharper and has really smoother shallow depth of field if you look closely, something I think that's going to be really popular with portrait photographers. Now, I've used two of the 80-200 lenses from Nikon's earlier range, as well as all three 70-200 f-mount lenses. While they are all stellar performers in their own right, Nikon just keeps upping the game with the Z-mount lenses, especially when it comes to sharpness. You get a really professional grade lens for the money that you pay, something that is sure to get you top quality images for years to come. For anyone out there who was holding back from moving to the Z series because of a lack of lenses until now, you've got no reason to wait any longer. Along with the newly released 14-24 lens, Nikon has now completed its 2.8 trinity of lenses. That's not to say that they don't have more lenses coming up. You can check out the lens roadmap on the link below. In conclusion, this is a very impressive lens. For anyone who wants the best in terms of quality and handling when it comes to this focal range, Nikon has produced an absolute winner. Sports, wedding, portraits, and even landscape photographers to an extent will find this lens to be more than a worthy addition to their kit. If you've enjoyed this review as much as I have, please like, subscribe, and do share the content that we produce here at Last Minute Productions. Thanks once again, and we hope to see you soon for our next review.